make a new Photoshop document. So just do it with me. So rather than just opening your scan directly in Photoshop, we want to actually make a new document. We're going to make it a print document. You can just do A4, doesn't really matter too much. So you'll see, because it's print, it comes up as 300 pixels per inch. Keep it in RGB colour. And instead of a white background, change it to transparent. It'll just make it easier when we go to change things. So once you've got that document with a transparent background, you can either drag your image in or you can place it, just as long as you know where it is. She says, not remembering. Where did I stick it? There it is. So I'm going to use another student's scan. So you can either drag it or place it. So if you're placing it, it's going to look similar. So file, place linked, or just drag it in. Either's going to work.
If you've got two on a page, does that matter?
No, just put it in there. We'll worry about that later. Once you've got it in there, could people just be quiet? I am recording this. Hello, I am recording this. So if you just be shush. Okay, so once you've placed it in there, just have your window layers open. So we always want to have our layers open in Photoshop so we can see what we've done. And you can see at this stage, it's coming in as what's really a vector graphic. So this is how we would put a logo in, for example. And at this point, if you needed to scale it in any way, this would be a good time to do it before we rasterize it. So at the moment, it's being treated like a vector image. So that means if we were placing a logo, we wouldn't be able to edit it. Once you're happy with it, hit the return key. And you'll notice you get this little symbol here. So that means we won't be able to do any painting or anything on it. So if I try, I get this circle with a slash through it. It won't let us do much because that's actually still seeing it as a vector object. So why do we have this thing? It's because this is a link. It's called a smart object. And if you were to double click on that and say this was a logo, it would open it in the program it was created in. It would open it in Illustrator, for example, and you could edit it, save it, and as long as it stayed linked and you didn't rasterize it or convert it to pixels, is what rasterizing means, then it would update automatically. So if I double click on that little icon, it will open another version of it in Photoshop. Don't do this, just watch. And if I was to, say, invert the colours there and save it, it will update in the original. Sorry, I've lost my original now. That was not a good demo. There it is. So it would update in the original. So we don't want to do that, but it's just to give you a sense of what happens with the smart objects. Sorry, I already had that one open. I should have closed those. I've got too many open, sorry. No. I have to recreate it. There it is, there's the one I was talking about. Okay, so you can see how it's updated, my original. All I had to do was save it. So you could have done a whole lot of things. You could be wrapping an image around a bottle or something like that. It wouldn't matter, it would save and update. So smart objects are very important because they link through to the original. So that's just kind of an overview of what that is. So I'll just re-invert that. So back to what we had. So the basics to understand about that is that we can't do anything with that. Sorry, I'll just merge that. Sorry, I just want to get rid of the filter thing. Don't want that. Oh, that's pretty smart object. Okay, well, I'll have to go back and redo it. Save that and then come back to my original. There it is. So, because I just saved the change again, now see it's updated it again. So there, it's a link. So the point is that you can't do much with this image. You won't be able to paint or do anything until you've converted it to a raster object. So to do that, go Layer, Rasterize, Smart Object. By doing that, you are turning this into an image which is just made of pixels. So you brought it in as a PDF. It's not scanned as a PDF. It's no longer a PDF. It's now an image that we can edit, and importantly, we'll be able to go and paint and do things to it.
How did you get the PDF in? Because I can't.
Just stop. Just watch, and I'll go over it again. Okay. Okay. So you can drag it in, or you can place it. Okay. So we'll go. Don't worry. I'll go back over it again. That's also why I'm recording this. Okay, so what's next? We've got to have rasterized that so we no longer have that strange little smart object symbol there. And that was done through this layer, smart object raster. You can see it's greyed out now, rasterized, because I've done it. And that just simply means it's pixels. It'll work as pixels and you can edit it. Whereas the place PDF, you couldn't actually edit it and change its colours, etc. So the next step in your little journey is going to be to look at your selection tools, because we want to get rid of all that white background. We don't need that. We want to have the object by itself. Now we have a number of selection tools that sit here. Obviously we could kind of try and draw around it with a lasso tool, not very effective. Instead, you see down here we've got a set of tools which are far more effective, with some built-in AI in them. So the object selection tool, you may have met this already in your dealings with Photoshop. Try that first, always try that first. If you've got a good edge of your object, it should find it. And you just drag over the entire thing and you'll see it do its magic. And it's made a pretty good selection of it. So if I zoom up, you might see the crawling ants. Can you see it's got a selection happening there? It's not too bad, but it has missed a couple of things in there. Nevertheless, if I hit delete, well, that's not what I want, is it? So I've got to do one more step. I've made a selection. I want the background. So under the select menu, we're going to have to inverse it. So now when I hit delete, I've gotten rid of most of my background. I've got a lovely clean image. However, you can see it missed a bit. So that's where I could come and use this quick selection tool and just drag over that little bit and it's going to find it. Command D deselects. So luckily for me, this person's done a pretty good job of theirs. However, there is still a little bit there that's not right. Can you see on that edge? It's not. And there's another little bit between the pores, for example. So you'll probably find you'll want to do, and see some little bits over there, you'll probably find you'll want to do some cleaning up. So a very basic way to clean up would be to get the eraser tool and just rub out. Okay, you could do that. You could also use the, you could try the quick select again. You could also use the magic wand tool. The magic wand tool works a little bit differently in that it selects particular colours and variations of that colour. However, I could use it for a small area if I hold down the shift key and just keep selecting till I've got all of that particular colour and then hit delete. It's not too bad, could have been better. The power of the magic wand is if I wanted to get, say, the yellow in this image, you can see there's a yellow chest there. You have this thing called tolerance for the magic wand. So I could increase the tolerance of that to maybe 100, and that's just going to get lots of whatever colour I click. So you can see I've clicked on the yellow, and it's only getting the yellow. So the magic wand is not working like these other two. The magic wand is working by selection of colour, and then you increase the tolerance to say, okay, give me yellow and give me dark yellow, give me light yellow, give me all these variations of yellow. The bigger the tolerance, the wider range of colour of that particular colour, of dark and light of that particular colour it will get. And you can simply hold down the shift key to keep adding to it. So you can see I'm adding to that. Whoops. Use your spacebar key to move around, by the way. Your spacebar key will let you just click and drag around. When you're zoomed up, that's quite important. So you can see I could just keep going, holding down the shift key. Now, if it gets more colours that I didn't want, then I've probably got my tolerance too high. So at some point, you've got to sort of decide, okay, I've got quite a bit of yellow. Now I'm getting other colours. Maybe take the tolerance down, maybe 250. Still hold my shift key down, and then look, it's now only getting it's just getting the yellow for me. Okay, so why would I bother doing that? Well, one, it could help you clean up the image, but two, it's going to allow you to change the colours in just one part of the image. So to change the colours, and you're going to be changing the colours according to those colour harmonies we learnt about. So we're going to go and have a look at Adobe.color again and look at some colour harmonies. Once you've decided what colours you want, you're simply going to change the colours in here using this particular tool, which hides under the paintbrush tool. It's called colour replacement. Okay, and when you get in there, it does a fun thing and it starts to change the colour just in the area that I want to use it in. So it's starting to put the purple in instead of the yellow. If I was to drop the solid colour in with a paint bucket, you can see that I'd lose all the tonality. Okay, so you're using that tool for a reason, because you want to keep the softness. So it's just called colour replacement tool. Whatever colour you've got chosen in the picker here is the colour it will use. Say I wanted a darker purple. Okay, now that's the foreground colour. When I go to use the colour replacement tool, that's the colour. You can see maybe that's doing a better job of it. And it's just painting over what's already there. So maybe I'm done with that now. No, I haven't got an Aussie. I didn't do a great job with my selection. I need to keep going. So I won't keep going too long. Another trick you can use if you wanted that colour to be a little more intense is to go to the image adjustment levels and just darken it a bit. Okay, so I'm using the slider that's black. Or you could go again to image adjustments and go to hue saturation and go, well, hey, I like that colour, but I would like it to be a lot more saturated. And you don't touch the hue. You don't want to change. You're happy with the hue. It's purple, but just want it a bit more saturated. So maybe your original colour was a bit light to change, so we're just saturating it. Okay, desaturating it takes all the colour out. Saturating it, whatever colour it is, makes it more intense. So when you're finished with one colour, Command D to deselect, and then, have a look at your Adobe Color. Oh, I thought I had it up. Okay. So you'll need to get Adobe Color open as well. So I'll just quickly go there. Thought I had Adobe Color up. Maybe I don't. Yeah, I do. Okay. So you'll need this open as well to find out what color theme to work with. You can choose any colours, but you'll be doing versions of this. Say it's the dragon, you'll be doing the analogous version where you choose some analogous colours. So these are all next to each other. Say I'm working with purple and I wanted to do analogous. So analogous just means they're next to each other. So I could change my dragon, say, instead of green, I'd change it to dark blue. and maybe do some highlights with the magenta. So any colours next to each other. If you want it to be exact, you could copy the code, but you can just do it by eye. Once you've figured out what colours, just choose those colours. You know, close enough is good enough for this. Back in Photoshop, you're just using Adobe Colour as a guide. And once you've changed the colours for the analogous colour scheme, then you'll go and wait on the monochromatic. I've got another technique I want to show you for that. Triadic. So then you would look at this and you go, okay, I'd like to do my dragon now in these three colours. And you use those three colours and recolour the dragon in those colours. Then when you've done that, you're going to save it and name it. You know, this would be Dragon Triadic. The first one was Dragon Analogous. Then you have complementary opposite. So you'll choose, and remember, so you can choose tones as well. So you get quite a variation. But the basic, just at least two colours, the yellow and the blue, complementary opposite. Or you could go, look, you know, this really magenta pink and the really poppy green. So I could keep my dragon green and just, instead of changing that to purple, I would change it to that really hot pink. So up to you what colours you use, as long as you know what colour harmony they are. Yeah, and you're going to reflect that in what you do to your little icon that you've made. Split complementary is the other one. So instead of directly opposite, you're picking two colours either side of the opposite. So the dragon would have three colours. When you get to square, that's the last one. Two sets of complementary opposites. See how they're opposite each other? Yeah. It's what we were talking about as tetradic. In the brief it talks about tetradic. It's the same thing, square. Two sets of complementary opposites. So that will give you a four-coloured dragon with four colours. You're not stuck with the colours you've already got. The whole point is to play around with these colour harmonies. Now you learnt the theory. Let's go and figure out how we'd actually use them with our particular illustration. We want to change them according to particular colour themes, not just random colour themes. So that means, you know, like going, okay, maybe I'm going to make that purple. Look at your colour scheme, and then you've got to actively use these selection tools to figure out, okay, what's the best tool to get the dragon's horns? Maybe the selection, the magic wand, maybe that one. Hold down the shift key to select more of it. If you're getting too much, then change the tolerance. So that's right up at 50. If I did 20, use the magic wand and just hold down the shift key and just kept selecting, it's not too bad. Okay, and I just keep clicking till I had a good selection. That's not too bad. What colour do I want to change it to? I can double click on my little colour picker icon, and because I've already gone and had a look in I've gone and had a look, haven't I? You know, I've gone and looked up the colour combination in Adobe Colour, and I'll just go for something that's close to what I think I saw. If you want to be exact, you can actually cut and paste the hexadecimal code from Adobe Colour straight in here, and you'll get the exact one. But you don't have to for this exercise. Okay, and then when we're back here, just make sure you've got that colour replacement tool, and then go ahead and change it. And there it goes. And you can see my selection wasn't amazing. So you do need to do a better selection to begin with. So there's another tool. So I'm going to overwhelm you a bit here, because there's always different ways to select things in Photoshop. So another good tool is under the select menu. So explore these ones to begin with, right? You can explore these to begin with. You've certainly got to do that object selection to begin with to get rid of the background. And then you might use Magic Wand and see how you go for making colour selections. But at a certain point you might find it's getting all a bit too hard. So you have some other tools. You have select menu, colour range. Now that lets you use the eyedropper. Say I just want to get the green. I know there's a lot of green. So just by clicking with there and then maybe adding a few shades of it, so that plus button, I can plus and minus shades of that colour. With this one I could even add different colours in. So I'm just clicking where I want to add in. So that's looking pretty good. I've got the fuzziness thing which controls, so see how it's not great? If I go up there it's kind of clearer. When I say OK, I should now have a selection of the dragon, just the green. So have a look at that one. That's select colour range. I probably selected too much. I need to take out the purple. So then I can deselect, I can take colours out. So it's using the plus button to add things in, using the minus button to take things out. So that can be quite an effective tool. Still a few things missed, but still if I want to go and just do a radical change of colour on the green, you can see I've got most of what I need. I've got pretty close to it. Yeah. Okay, so that's another way. The image adjusts hue saturation. If you wanted to do, you know, a major change, you can get pretty close to it, and then you can go, okay, pretty close. Command D. Let's just eyedropper that colour I got there, and use that change replacement tool to come in and just replace it where I missed. So you could do it that way. That's a quick and dirty way of doing it. Okay, so last tool for selections I'm going to show you. So I use colour range to get that, and it's not perfect. What if I want it to be perfect? What if I've got a really difficult shape to select out of the background? So I hope you guys are paying attention down the back. You know all about quick mask mode? So let's have a look at quick mask mode, because you probably haven't met it yet. So I've got a sort of fairly ordinary selection here. I need to fix it up a bit. So I have another thing, which is this radio button. It says, doesn't tell you anything, but if you click on it, actually double click, it's going to show you either masked areas or selected areas. So in this case, it's showing me what I've just selected. So I might change that colour, the selection colour to green, so maybe to blue, so you can see it a bit more clearly. So what that means is I can actually paint, go to the ordinary brush tool, and it will now paint on or erase things from my selection. So say I didn't like having that part of the dragon there selected, I can delete things from my selection. When I come back out of it, I've changed the selection. So I might show you just by painting. So you double click, and then you tell it to paint with this colour to indicate a selection. I'll go back to red again, maybe so you can see it. So whatever I paint in red, so it's a red that you can see through, so it says 50%. Whatever I end up painting in red is actually going to be a selection. So let's have a go. With the normal paintbrush and with black forward and white behind like that, what's going to happen is where I paint will become a selection. So this can be good for cleaning up the edges of things. So say I want to go crazy and put some patterns on the dragon or something. Wherever I paint will be a selection. So I come back and I click once again to edit quick mask, and now you can see that I've actually got a selection where I had paint, what looked like paint. So now if I go and use that colour replacement tool, and let's get, I don't know, magenta or something. When I start to paint inside that selection, you can see that I'm getting just a selection getting the colour. So that's an active selection. I can keep going over it. And again, if I wanted to make it more intense, I could use the hue saturation sliders So anything you're playing with, if you want to make it more intense, hue saturation, leave the hue and just bump up the saturation, just make it a bit stronger. You can also play with lightness and darkness in there as well to make it stronger. Okay, but where it comes into its own is where you've got a really tricky bit that you're having trouble selecting. So double click, make sure it's on selected areas, because usually the tool by default is set on the opposite, so it paints the opposite. I can't, for whatever reason, my brain can't work with that. I have to go, okay, whatever I paint will become the selection. So I always change it to that. But you have to make that change, because automatically it will be on masked. So it's just a normal paintbrush then, and now instead of working like your paintbrush, it's going to just work as a selection tool, and it just depends on what brush size and what hardness you pick as to how big or small it is. So you can imagine if you were doing this on tablet or with a Wacom tablet, you could even select individual hairs of a model using this. Yeah, so you can paint very well. It's a bit clunky with the mouse, but it still works. So every time I paint, I'm not painting, I'm actually making a mask. A selection. I'm painting a selection. But I've got to click back on the radio button, and now it's a selection. And now whatever I do to change will only apply in there. So you can see it's only changing inside that selection. Okay, I will stop, but before I do, and we'll go back over these things more slowly, but before I do, because your step one is to make a really good selection, but I wanted to show you quick mask because you might find that it's easier to paint that little selection on the rubbish bits that didn't go so well. So we'll do that. But one more thing, I just want to show you what we're aiming for. So we're aiming for, okay, you're going to name each one you do. This is called Fish Triadic, and they've used the 3 triadic colours. There's an analogous warm set that they've changed. They've had a background in, which, like, by the time we got to putting it into Illustrator, we don't want a background. Okay, that's why, it's good if you've done it with a fairly strong contrast to the background and you can just get rid of it. You can see how much they had to use the masking, painting the selection, because their colours in here are very similar to out here. That's making life hard for yourself. Split complementary, there's a split complementary there. So you'll have one of each of these, yeah? So that's what you're seeing, analogous warm, triadic, monochromatic. I'll talk to you about the monochromatic in a bit. You only have to do one monochromatic, they've done more. What else have we got? We've got, that's all we've got for that. Yeah, but you'll have one of each, and I think the first one I had up had all of them. So you're going to go through Adobe Color, and you're going to do, like I said, you're going to do an analogous one, a monochromatic one, a triadic one, a complementary one, a split complementary one, and a square. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus the one you've got that you start with. Save that and call it original. So you'll actually have 7 versions of it. So that's what we're doing this lesson. Obviously, I'm going to come around and help people, because there's a whole bunch of new skills here, but they're skills that are going to make it easy for you to do other projects in this course. So it's not just about creating the wrapping paper, it's about making sure you get really good at making selections, especially quick mask. It will save you so much time, it really will. Okay, so the basic tools are great, they do most things really well, but they have limitations. So have a go at making them, then I'll stop you, and then there's one more set of things about the selection I want to talk to you about. But I'll stop now and let you start going on with it. And